Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Mio MMA podcast. This week we had PFL and UFC cards, and I'm here to talk about what happened. And to be clear, probably rant about judging a fair bit because the judging on both of these cards was pretty terrible. Don't get me wrong, I don't actually think a lot of people won that shouldn't have won. That's not the type of judging errors we're talking about here. I'm just talking about nonsensical scorecards that within the nature of the fight didn't make any sense. And, let's just get into it. So we'll talk about PFL first. PFL had its 145 and 170 semifinal card on Friday. Brendan Lougane versus Kai Kamaka III as the main event. I scored the first round for Lougane. I had the second and the third round for Kamaka. To be clear, the second round, insanely close. So the fact that Brandon Lougane won, not a problem. Not at all actually an issue. It is a perfectly valid decision that I have no real problem with. And let's see if I have a problem with the cards, shall we? They're not up. Wow, MMA decisions. You don't have the decisions from a card 2 cards ago. Anyways, by the way, there was a 30-27 Lougane from the media scores, along with 29-28 Lougane, 29-28 Lougane, 29-28 Lougane. I think the 30-27 Lougane from Sean Cian of SevereMMA.com, that's probably a little bit off because I do think that Kamaka won the third round fairly comprehensively. I think the first went to Lougane, and like I said, the second round is a push. Basically, essentially what this was is that Kamaka landed low kicks heavily right out of the gate. Actually, like literally just like bruising up the leg and obviously making Lougane. I gotta get that right. I've been watching this guy fight for like years, and I keep saying Lougane and not Lougane. And I know it's Lougane. I know this. It's in there. It's in the brain, but it's not coming out. But Lougane landing the better head kicks, or not the better head kicks, the better head shots. There you go. And hurts him really badly with a spinning back kick, and then flurries in the clinch, dropping Kamaka. Doesn't get the finish. Easily wins the round because up until that point, it was a reasonably 50-50 round, probably with Lougane slightly ahead, and then obviously getting the big damage at the end and, really getting the finish. Round 2, Kamaka's, still looking a little more active, a little more sharper than the first round. He's landing a little bit more. He's throwing a little bit more. And he's more than the low kicks being successful. He's more than a calf kick at this point. Lougane is very interested in trying to hit the spinning back kick. And in fact, actually puts one into the cup of Kamaka. But the spinning kicks weren't really working at this point. Like at this point, I think Kamaka had seen them, whatever. Like I said, this is a bit of a push round. They had similar volume numbers. I do believe they had similar damage done. I gave it to Kamaka by the barest of margins. Like I said, this is the round that determines the fight, in my opinion. Third round, Kamaka is looking confident in his hands. It's good. Third, he's doing some good work. He's punishing Lougane in the clinch, and also when he breaks the clinch. So that's nice. Lougane didn't seem to have like a reliable point of offense at this point. Like he's still trying to throw the big kicks, but they're being blocked. They're being parried. He can't really get the takedowns all that well. His nose gets busted up pretty badly, and that is why I gave that round to Kamaka. Like I said, I think the 30-27 is a bit much, but like obviously I have no problem with Lougane winning, and he goes on to the finals yet again. I believe this is his third finals. Did he make it? The Pineda loss was in the semis last time around. So he's looking for his second PFL title. Umalatov, Gracie, I don't have much to say. Umalatov, pretty dominant, all things considered. Gracie, the thing is like it's not huge like gaps. Even like I even was like thinking maybe Gracie picked up the second round, to be honest. But it was a fight where I didn't really think at any point Gracie had ideas that were going to work. Let's see if there's scorecards for this one. There is one scorecard, which is a 30-27 from Brian Puccillo. Like I said, that was my card. The other two judges gave a round to Gracie. I'm assuming it's the second round. But like basically, essentially, Gracie could not get the takedown. Obviously, he is a Gracie, so he was being outstruck on the feet and unable to deliver there. He did have, when it did get to the ground, he would attack the neck. He would pull guard, even. Pull guard attempts from Gracie, like a little bit of butt scooting even. And, reminding I think the problem is that reminds Umalatov that he doesn't want to grapple with him at all, and he largely did not. And there's not really much more to talk about there. I guess the only negative for Umalatov is he picked up like 3 fence grab warnings, which that's not a negative for him. That's just MMA, sadly. So Umalatov goes on. Kizriev versus Braga in the featherweight division was 2 really close first 2 rounds, which I both gave to Kizriev. And then I gave Barzola the 3rd round because I thought that Barzola Braga. I'm ahead of myself. There's a Barzola fight coming later on. But yeah, essentially the problem here was that Braga never really seemed to be able to get confident in his ability to just force a pocket fight onto Kizriev. Kizriev was winning from the outside, I thought, in a slight volume way, but not like with a lot of power. And realistically, didn't indulge in the wrestling nearly as much as you would think. There was some, particularly in the 3rd round. But I don't know. Like, again, another close fight. What were the scorecards? Dave Torelli was a dissenting judge, scoring at 29-28 for Braga. Depending on what rounds he gave, and I'm assuming that we're not going to get them, this was largely fine. The other 2 judges went 30-27, which I don't have a strong enough impression of the 3rd round to remember if I thought it was definitively a Braga round or if I just kind of edged it to him. And then we had the Ramazanov versus Musayev fight. This was bad judging. There was a judge named Braslow. First name, I don't know. David Braslow. No, hang on. Okay, this is weird. So I went into the details of the card. And Braslow's card in details is 10-9, 10-9, 10-9 all the way through for Musayev, but it's 29-28. So MMA Decisions has the wrong decision on that one. Anyways, this was a boring, not very good fight. This entire card actually suffered through that. It started off, with some pretty peak action, but fights that were showcase fights. And then when it got into the meat of the card, the actual PFL offerings, it wasn't very good. Essentially, this boiled down to simply Ramazanov not throwing strikes. They had a graphic up, as PFL always does, where he was like 2 for 9 on strikes in the 3rd round of the fight. He did not win any round. It was not a great fight for Musayev by any means, but he was able to largely stop the takedowns. And like I said, Ramazanov was not hitting him at all. So what are you going to do? In fact, was this not a split decision? I have it in my notes here that this was a split. Okay, that may have been a bad reading, or I may not have heard right. Okay, that's better. But the fact that apparently Ramazanov actually did still win a round is not good. I don't have much to say about Berkamov versus Ray Cooper III. I had the rounds being very, very close, and at the end of the day, I don't think it was a great look for either fighter, realistically speaking. I don't have much to say. It was a split decision. I thought Berkamov won, but I'm not going to get too worried about it. Tyler Diamond started really strong against Enrique Barzola. I had him taking the 1st round. He clipped him early. He dropped him. He was showing greater power. What wrestling there was his. And then he kind of fell apart. I don't know what it was really. I don't know if he ran out of energy or whatever, but he comes out in the 2nd round. He's got the takedown. He's working the back ride. Barzola is just not allowing you to get the hooks, and he eventually walks up and does his thing, and then just starts coming on hard. He drops Diamond with about 30 seconds to go, swarming him, looking for a finish. And there was not really great intelligent defense. It could have been stopped right there. We go into the 3rd round. Barzola's corner forgets the mouth guard, apparently, and they gave a little wink to the commentators. I don't know why they would have done that, because, keep in mind, at the end of the 2nd round, Diamond was almost finished. If I'm Barzola, I want to get into the cage as fast as possible and get the action back going before Diamond has cleared every single little cobweb out of his brain. And I didn't really understand that. So anyways, Diamond at this point, crashing into Barzola, trying to bully him. Barzola knocks his mouth guard out. Diamond's mouth guard, that is. And at the end of the day, Barzola was able to out-scramble and outstrike Diamond down the stretch and pick up the 3rd round. And the 2nd round, obviously, he picks up the win over Tyler Diamond. I had Diamond winning that fight. I was wrong. Boom. There we go. I don't have much to say about Jose Perez versus Jesse Stern. I wasn't particularly impressed with Perez outside of throwing a lot of volume. but like not landing a lot of it. And Stern is, well, he's a 16-7 journeyman. There's not much else to say. Maxwell, pardon me, Danto Nana, I think that's how you say it. I might be wrong. Versus Kent Mafilio. Also, not sure about that pronunciation. Anyways, the Cameroonian Sambo player, that's a weird one, ended up with a knockout in the second round. It was a pretty decent performance, but like Mafilio is not very good, so it doesn't really matter much. And it's kind of the same with Shido Boris Esperanza versus Tyler Hill, where Esperanza looks great, don't get me wrong, but it's just like Hill offered no actual like opposition. And if I recall correctly, I mean the odds on this fight were like insanely dumb, if you know what I mean. Yeah, huge favorite, huge underdog. Yeah. It's a showcase fight. It did what it was supposed to do, but it's hard to say what it means going forward for either of those fighters who are going to be fighting in PFL Africa. So that's the PFL card. The highlights were at the beginning. The lowlights were towards the end. Let's move on to UFC action. So first up, I want to see if the UFC cards are up on MMADecisions.com. They are. Okay. At least I have them to work with in this one. All right. Jared Cannonier versus Kyle Bahayo in the main event. I picked Bahayo. He won. And to be honest, this kind of looked a lot like it. I mean, I thought the clinch game would play more of a role than it did, obviously. But like the problem essentially is I don't think Cannonier's got it anymore. There's a fighter that I think earlier in the card I think exemplifies this more, or maybe it was just someone I was talking about with my watching buddies. I'm honestly not sure. We're gonna find out. It's that when your fighting skills are based so heavily on physicality and physical ability, it is going to age poorly. It's not that you need technique to do things. It's not that you need a well-rounded, well-thought-out, well-formed game to make it to the top of MMA. That is absolutely not the case. Case in point, Dricus Du Plessis is in this division and is the champion. And he is... like Dom Cruz had a line during the Israel Adesanya fight that people are going to go out and try and fight like DDP. I'm like, if that's the case, it's going to end very badly for them because it does not work. It is a product of DDP's unique blueprint, I guess. I don't know. But at the end of the day, developing actually good technique will allow you to survive to a degree your fall of athletic performance. And Cannonier is kind of in the spot where his game is fundamentally sound, but it's fundamentally sound in a way that only was serviced by physicality. And we kind of saw in the Imavov fight that he is fading. And we saw in this fight that he is fading. So Bahayo comes out. He is working a nice hard jab, splitting the guard, doing his thing. And both men are trying to chop at the leg kicks, trying to get that going. Bahayo picks up his final warning, air quotes, for an eye poke in the first round. Cannonier's leg is starting to buckle from the calf kicks. And Cannonier is trying to crowd Bahayo against the fence. And when he does, it works, but his footwork has never been sharp. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, I had Bahayo winning the round. I'm actually kind of wondering here. UFC stats, what do we got here? Bahayo, by the way, almost doubling him up in overall volume. 15-12 in the first round, 15-12 in total strikes landed. We move on to the second round. Bahayo up 1-0. Second round, not really a lot different if we're being honest, but Cannonier is a little bit more comfortable throwing, and it's also kind of figured out that Bahayo's head movement is very limited as well. I mean, if I'm going to talk about Cannonier having a limited game, I have to talk about Bahayo's defense having a very limited game. He has basically the same movement, same response to like pressure at all times. So basically what I think was happening is Cannonier just started to overthrow his right hook when he was trying to do a 1-2. So it'd be jab, right hook followed up. The right hook in no way aiming to actually hit where Bahayo is, but where Bahayo is going to move every single time. And boom, he would clonk him. And, it worked pretty well. There's still a lot of leg kicks being exchanged. Bahayo getting the better of those. Cannonier's leg still looking a little bit like it might be a problem going forward. But Cannonier is just starting to get the better of the power exchanges to the head and also outlanded him in this round 26-21. I give it to Cannonier. That is the only round I'm going to be giving to Cannonier for the record, though I do think that there was a round later on that could go to him. We'll talk about that in a bit. Round 3. This is where Cannonier's mouthpiece like seemingly starts just falling out. And there's even a moment where like it falls out and Bahaio's like, no, I didn't poke him in the eye. He's like, no, we're just replacing the mouthpiece. It's okay. It's okay. We're worried about the point getting deducted. Anyways, Cannonier has him staggered on the feet, like a little bit, a little rocked. Again, when you're able to overthrow a hook into the direct path of where Bahaio's going to move his head, it's going to, clonk him, and it does. But Bahaio staggers him late, starts to pot shot the body in the head, has him like, not doing great on the cage. He even falls to a knee at one point. I'm not sure what caused him to fall to the mat at that point, because to be clear, throughout this entire fight, both guys had a hard time with footing balance. It seemed like there was a lot of just like slips that I don't think is like a function of their game. So I like legitimately do wonder if like there was something on the surface of the canvas when it comes in. We know that like, debris can end up in there. Other things can end up in there. I know I was at a regional show once where like the area where the fighters were walking in literally was like soaked with beer, because one of the beer like sellers, they go around, Cole, Chris, beer. One of them had fallen over and their entire like had spilled. So like there was literally a soaked patch on the way to the ring, the cage in this case. That was completely soaked with beer, and that was a problem. So I don't know, maybe something happened. I don't know. I don't understand. Anyways, third round, Bahaios. We're up 2-1 Bahaio. Boom. On to the fourth. Bahaio ends up starting to, kind of double up the jab. I kind of hoped he would have done this earlier. Like the jab was piercing Cannonier's guard kind of like repetitively. But it took to the fourth round for it to be like a regular habit for Bahaio, which is a bit weird. He's also starting to work the body with kicks, bringing up those calf kicks into body kicks, doing that thing. And Bahaio is just picking him apart. Cannonier throws like this nice 3-piece though, snaps back the head, and there you go. Breaks the trend. Kind of gets the momentum going back in Cannonier's way. Also busts his eye up. And now this was the round that I had like kind of 50-50. Like Bahaio won this round, in my opinion. But he did get the most significant damage of the fight. There was a massive cut under his eye at this point. We know that some judges really look at visible damage as their primary criteria because damage is the primary criteria. I personally think that we should be looking at the totality, obviously. The visibility of the damage is not necessarily that important. Like, for example, and Dom Cruz will do this like a bunch. Dom Cruz will talk about this as like a way to win the fight entirely. But like you could get a round where like you lose 4 minutes, 44 seconds of the round, of a 5-minute round, but there was 16 seconds there where you hit this dude with an elbow, bam, and cut him open on the forehead. And you won that round because you got that cut. Some judges will do that. So I was a little bit worried about that. But otherwise, this is, again, a Bahaio round. Again, I will give you the UFC stat numbers on the matter. 30-19 in strikes in favor of Bahaio. And then the fifth round, Bahaio is really pouring it on at this point. He is, again, the mouthpiece is falling out for Cannonier. I don't know what was up with that. But he is moving his head back a little bit further and actually like trying to vary up his head movement. And Cannonier now is no longer being able to overthrow that right hook into his face. Bahaio melts him late, and like I'm talking like strings cut, melt him. Like, oh my God, how did you survive? Bahaio follows Cannonier to the ground, starts throwing fierce ground and pound, can't get the stoppage, looks for an arm triangle. There are moments where it looks like Cannonier is in legitimate trouble, but at the end of the day, Cannonier is able to survive the round, even gets back onto his feet. And Bahaio wants to knee him, but it's maybe not legal. Anyways, best round of the fight for Bahaio. Like I said, I have 49-46 Bahaio. And then I think one judge gave Cannonier 2 rounds, and I'm going to assume it's round number 2 and round number 4. That would be Chris Lee, correct. And also, all 3 judges gave a 10-8 fifth round. I like that. I gave 10-9, I think, on my live scorecard, but like 10-8 is perfectly fine. It's just that we've been through this. The UFC, not the UFC. MMA judging as a whole does not award 10-8s very frequently. So I'm very hesitant to give them because I have to recognize the fact that judging is what it is. and therefore, scorecards accordingly. It doesn't really help me to have like my own 10-8 criteria that I apply that I know judges aren't going to apply. But nice to see that they did, in fact, go 10-8 along the line in the 5th round. So actually, they had it pretty comfortable. Bahio is at a bit of an odd point here. My first thought was Imavov, but Imavov is fighting Brendan Allen. So I've got Jack Hermanson, but I'm not really super excited for that fight. Cannonier. They've got against the loser of Roman Dolidze, Kevin Holland, but you could honestly also do the winner of that fight. Then we had Tabitha Ricci versus Angela Hill. And on this one, I'm not going to really talk about the dynamic of the fight because the dynamic didn't really shift at any point. That wasn't the intrigue. I'm just going to give you the numbers. It's just going to be brass numbers here. Tabitha Ricci outlanded her in the first round, was outlanded in the second round, and then they apparently were dead even in the third, but with Hill winning pretty sizably by significant strikes. I scored rounds 2 and 3 for Hill. She was able to largely make it not a takedown affair. I know that Ricci did get 2 takedowns in the second round and 1 in the third, and had, I don't know, probably roughly 3 minutes of top control off of that. But realistically speaking, I thought Hill won. And now am I surprised that Hill lost? No. Am I appalled? No, not really. Again, I think that the Ricci card is perfectly fine, but I'm going to talk about one judge here. I'm going to talk about a judge, and that is Judge Eric Colon. Judge Michael Bell, Ben Cartledge, you get off fine. You scored Ricci 1 and 2. I can get behind that. I can understand that. I get it. I feel what you are putting down. Ricci had 2 minutes of top control in the second round. She got 2 takedowns. We know the judges love those takedowns. It is not how it should be, but it is how it is. I get it. I understand the through logic of scoring that round. Judge Eric Colon, screw you, buddy. I don't know what the deal is here. Eric Colon scored round 1 for Angela Hill. That is the round I scored for Ricci. It is the only round that she outlanded her. It is the round where she had the most control, albeit in a clinch manner that really shouldn't really score fights. But again, I'm saying if control is a major factor in your scoring, that was Ricci's best round. That was Ricci's best round, period. That was Ricci's round. Ricci outlanded her, significant strikes, total strikes, and controlled her the most. It is her best round. I do not know how you then give the second and the third round to Ricci. Eric Colon gets my donkey award as far as the scorecards are concerned because this makes no sense. Like a donkey. There you go. Anyways, next opponents, Ricci, I'm treating her as a winner and I'm moving her up to Amanda Hebosh. I'm not sure what I would do with Angela Hill at this point. It's kind of a weird thing. Angela Hill should have a much better record than she has because if you look at Angela Hill's record, there is a ridiculous number of fights that easily could have gone her way. I'm not going to say robberies, but every close decision, she does not win. That's a Tabitha Ricci fight. That's the Amanda Lemos fight. That's I think even the Tisha Pennington fight. I haven't watched it in a while, but I think that was even semi-close. Michelle Waterson-Gomez, which I absolutely think she won. Claudia Gadelia was a split decision as well. Courtney Casey was a split decision as well. And you could even argue back in the day. I haven't watched it in a while. I'm not going to comment on it. I haven't watched the fight, but I get the feeling that it was kind of close. Anyways, so of her 14 career losses, there are, let's see here, 1, 2, maybe even 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 split or contentious decisions that maybe should have gone Hill's way. So, I mean, it's painful. I mean, to be clear, she's opted into this kind of strategy, this kind of fight style that is going to go that way, but I don't think at any point it could have actually been fixed. So anyways, Ricci gets the W. I continue to be terrible at picking her fights. We move on to the finals for the Ultimate Fighter. Ryan Loder versus Robert Valentine. Early on, Loder gets the instant takedown. Valentine throws up a triangle, which was dumb. Loder is able to briefly get the back ride. Valentine again trying to attack the neck, but he ends up in a really bad spot and actually almost gets caught by the armbar that he got to the finals with on the Ultimate Fighter. The sort of very, very brute force overpowering armbar that he had. Patty McCory? Was it Patty McCory? I don't remember. Anyways, scrambles, somehow ends up on his back. Valentine does a great job of scrambling here. This is about the only nice thing I'm going to say about him. He gets onto the back. He's looking for the rear naked choke. Loader is showing terrible instincts. He's like punching instead of fighting with the hands. I don't think that at any point Valentine was overly close. But like that being said, that is bad. That is not what you should be doing. I gave the round to Valentine just because he was like, putting Loader in danger the whole time. And then in the second round, Loader again gets to the clinch really, really easy. Valentine tries to hit that, elbow shot that he knocked out Giannis Bashir with on the show. And it doesn't work. Loader ends up with a crucifix, starts dropping the bombs. Valentine is wriggling. Like, I used the line from The Simpsons when Homer was stuck in a pipe and the Arnie and the Pie, the weather guy, was up in the helicopter going, he is now stuck inside the pipe and his legs are wiggling in a comedic fashion. That was this. And at the end of the day, the referee steps in. Ryan Loader wins your tough finals here. He is your champion, winner, whatever you want to call it. And it probably will mean very, very little because he's a very, very one-dimensional fighter who is 33 years old. And I don't know, not even particularly big at 185. Like, he seems really thin. Like, it seems like this guy could, in fact, make 170. I don't think that would help him, though. Loader, I've got against Cedricus Dumas. I've got Valentine against the Dana White Contender Series if they keep him around. They're very inconsistent about whether they keep the finalists around or not. Con Offley versus Myron Santos. This was a pretty good performance by Santos. I mean, Offley was coming out aggressive and had some early striking success, was able to find the clinch, but Santos is like, I'm going to need you in the clinch. I'm going to break the clinch. I'm going to land hard right hands. When we do that, I'm going to set up and make it very clear that I'm trying to intercept you with the knee strike to your dome when you come inside. And at the end of the day, we get to the second round. Offley is still game. He's still aggressive, but there's not really a lot of success coming. And then he gets, you remember when I said like that the strings got cut on Cannoneer? This was the strings get cut. Well, Zane gets a shutout for the Thunderbirds reference for the marionette. Anyways, Myron Santos gets a W. I've got him against Jekasaragi. I'm assuming he's going to stay at 145 for a bit. He's definitely a guy who could make 135, but I also am aware that he only tried to do it once. So I'm assuming he is a featherweight, at least for the foreseeable future. Offley, I've against Dana White Contender Series guys, because again, I don't know if he's going to stick around. I don't know if they're going to keep the final guy around. Michael Morales versus Neil Magny. Magny is early on, chipping away with the low kick, doing his thing. He likes to jab. He likes the low kick. This is what he is doing. Morales is quite happy to return the favor in both areas. Magny clinches up because Morales' footwork is not good. It's a thing that needs to be worked. He gets caught against the cage, against the fence, basically. Has nowhere to go. Magny has his patented clinch. And then a spinning elbow clips Magny, sends him down to the canvas. Morales follows him down, gets to mount, gets to the back, throwing massive ground and pound. Referee steps in. Big win for Morales. I don't know what it really means because he did end up in the clinch, which is not what you want to do against Magny. But he is a phenomenal athlete of overpowering potential. And I do think that, I don't necessarily like the game he's putting together. There is new pieces being bolted onto it pretty much every time out, and I do like it, and he has that physicality. I firmly believe Michael Morales is probably a big problem in the future. That guy with some good coaching is going to be a destructive force that needs to be dealt with. Anyways, I've got Morales against Jeff Neal. I've got Magny against Chaos Williams, but you could really put any sort of rising star guy who needs an IQ/overwhelming physicality test to put in there. And I think Williams is one of those guys. Edmund Shabazian versus Gerald GM3 Mershart. This was looking bad for GM3 for a lot of this fight. Shabazian was working combinations. He is obviously the more powerful guy, the faster guy. He is shutting down the takedowns. He is working hard, body to head combos. I like it. I really do. It's looking good. Second round comes in. Early takedown stuff for Shabazian. Again, being that hard guy to let Mershart actually get his grappling game going. Mershart even slips throwing a kick. And we're going there, we're going there, we're going there. In the end, you get a really big hurt moment. Shabazian hurts GM3, crashes into the body, gets hurt to the body, or crashes into the clinch, gets hurt in the body. Sorry, something just fell off my desk. And he's getting swarmed on the ground with ground and pound. He somehow recovers. Shabazian has mount, though, but we get a great guard regain by GM3. Shabazian eventually just stands up, which frankly he should have done immediately, and then crashes the clinch. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it. GM3 threatens the guillotine, but doesn't fully go for his thing. GM3 hurts Shabazian. Shabazian returns fire as well. GM3 with a takedown. 70 seconds on the clock, roughly. And boom, arm triangle. Bam! GM3 with another victory. Another collapse for Edmen Shabazian. And I maybe just need to stop picking this guy to beat anybody who has a game that isn't going to crumble. GM3 wants Paul Craig, and I'm fine with that. Shabazian, I don't know what to do with him. There is immense potential, and you can watch this fight and just see it, that he has the athletic ability. He even has a lot of the technical ability you want. It's not like he's a dumb athlete with no technical game. It's just there are moments in the fight where he is going to make bad decisions. And there are moments in the fight when it starts to go bad that he's too much of a bully to kind of come back from. And I don't know how you fix that. It's like he can do it. I mean, he did it against I think it was AJ Dobson had him hurt at one point. He did come back from that. But like, I don't know. It's like you Edmen Shabazian, if you happen to be listening to this, and I doubt you are, but you have all the potential in the world. You just need to sort out what's upstairs in the head and get that done, because you're like a top 10 middleweight if you get it together. But instead you're losing to GM3. I don't know who to put you up against. I don't know. Francis Marshall versus Denis Buzukja. I scored the first round and the second round for Marshall, the third for Buzukja. This was not a particularly good fight. I don't think at any point Buzukja really looked like in the fight, really like engaged, like he had done his thing. He ended up outlanding Marshall in significant strikes. Somehow? Apparently outlanded him in the second round. But he also got dropped in the second round, so I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand the card that went for Buzukja. He got a split decision here. Marshall won, but like Judge... it's Adelaide Bird. That's the answer. That being said, Judge Junioro Kamijo is also a weird one, because he gave the second round Buzukja and did not give the third round to him, and gave the first... I don't understand that. Yeah, only one judge here has a card that makes any sense, and that's Ben Cartledge. I don't even agree with Ben Cartledge's card. He went 30-27 Marshall. I think that Buzukja won the third round, but like, it makes sense. There's a through logic there, but two judges somehow gave Buzukja a round in which he got knocked down. Not understanding that. I don't understand it. And like, you could argue that Buzukja won the rest of the second round. Probably did. He landed Marshall 33-28, 30-23 in significant strikes. There was only a minute of top time for Marshall. You could argue that, but like, Marshall dropped him. So I don't know. It was a good performance by Marshall, a pretty bad one by Buzukja, in my opinion. Buzukja just looked kind of out of it. Don't get me wrong. I think Marshall is hard capped by the fact that like, Buzukja's not very good, and this was still like, a fight that went to a split decision, even if it shouldn't have. But I've got Marshall against Emmers. I got Buzukja at 1-3, probably being shown the door. I'll pencil him in against Blake Builder if they are going to give him a fight. And I say that because after 4 fights, that tends to be the end of the initial UFC contract. Their Contender Series and I think New Guy contracts are all 4 fights long. And they've not been cutting people, but they have been not signing them to a second contract. So I could see this being the end. I'm the only thing about this fight that's really interesting is I don't understand the judging. Jose Medina got absolutely destroyed by Zach Reese, and I don't have anything else to say. Like I said, Medina is not good. He is bad. I'm kind of wondering here, what are the scorecards here? Because there should be 10-8s. We'll put it that way. There should absolutely be 10-8s in this card. Da, 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 da. You didn't give the first round a 10-8? Guys, I'm just going to give you the numbers from the first round here for a moment here, please. Here are the first round numbers. Here they are. Get ready for it. This apparently wasn't a 10-8 round, according to any of the judges. Outlanded. 40-13, 34-4 in significant strikes. Got hurt multiple times. Ended up on bottom for 2 minutes plus. Almost got submitted, like a legitimate submission attempt. Also got reversed by Zach Reese. Zach Reese should get a 10-8 round there. That was a very one-sided beatdown round. And at the end of the day, I mean, Reese faded down the stretch, and like Medina was able to do more in the second and third round. I have no problem with it being 10-8, 10-9s. But yeah, that first round should be a 10-8. And just out of curiosity here, yeah, the media scores are all for Marshall on that Marshall-Brzezicka fight. 30-27, 30-27, 30-27, and then 29-28 down the rest of the way. Nobody had that for Brzezicka. And I imagine no one had the second round for Brzezicka. I imagine that's the case. Rolling on down. Oh, pardon me, next opponents. Reese I've got against Albert Barayev. Medina, I do not care. He lost on the Contender Series. He is not good. Why is he here? I don't understand. I don't understand. That's the end of it. Vyacheslav Borshev versus James Lontop was a really good, scrappy fight. I enjoyed it. I was looking forward to it. It was maybe a little bit worse than I was expecting, but you know, a little bit less active than I was expecting. But like, it was definitely a good fight. I scored the first 2 rounds for Borshev. I scored the third round for Lontop. This just boils down to the fact that Borshev is a slightly better striker than Lontop is. His strikes were a little bit more quality, and at the end of the day, he also landed more of them. They all landed him 27-26 in the first round, 37-25 in the second round, and was outlanded 46-33 in the third round. So basically, I picked the guy who landed more strikes in all 3 rounds, and I thought, in addition to that, Borshev landed better strikes as well. Now, again, we're going to talk about judging here because I can maybe find myself scoring this fight for Lontop. I can see a possibility, I guess. Oh, hang on. Never mind. I'm actually not objecting here too much. Michael Belbeck and Cartledge have fine cards. Eric Colon scored the fight for Lontop, which is only notable because he also screwed up a later card. But like this was fine. He just kind of gave the first round to Lontop, which I don't think is the right one. But like I get the split decision there, I suppose. But like this card had 1, 2, 3 split decisions on it. And to be honest, this is the only one that I thought had any business being a split decision. And we're going to talk about the other one in a little bit here. But yeah, it was a bad night for judging. Borshev got against Kurt Hallbaugh. It would be a fun fight. And I don't really want to put them into like the normal flow of things because any hope that Borshev is going to become a legitimate contender, like prospect, like top 30-ish guy in the UFC, probably is done. There are just too many flaws in his game that are not really getting fixed at this point. And I do not trust, obviously, Team Alpha Male to do anything with a guy above 144 pounds or 145 pounds. It's the same thing with Lontop, or not Lontop, Loader. Jesus, that was terrible. Same thing with Loader, who's got an Alpha Male association, but is a middleweight. Like, it's not going to work out. And Lontop, I've got in a fight against the Dana White Contender Series guy because he's now 0-2 in the UFC, and I think he's good. I think he's a long-term action fighter, but he kind of needs to win. Anyways, to finish it up, Borshev and Hallbaugh are guys who don't really give a traditional test for anybody. So like, they're not prospect testing guys. They're just pure on action fighters. Let them scrap, let them have fun, and let the crowd have fun. There you go. Then we had, or before that, we had Josiane Nunez versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti, which I scored the first and the second round for Cavalcanti. I'm going to be very, very complimentary of Cavalcanti because I'm like desperate for like a women's bantamweight, like to do anything. You could argue she won all 3 rounds of this fight. She outlanded her 34-20, 31-18, and 26-14. And generally, it was like pretty even in quality. Like, Nunez is known as a hard hitter, so I can see maybe some fans getting suckered in and Cavalcanti's not. But like, I don't think that there was any point where Cavalcanti was like in super danger. Like, there was some swelling on both ladies, so they definitely got hit with some hard shots, definitely took some damage. It's fine. But at the end of the day, it was a fight that Cavalcanti showed up pretty well. She has good pace. She has good technical striking when she's on the front foot. Her retreating footwork is terrible, though. That needs to get better because every time Nunez put it into her to just kind of like blitz, just kind of go, screw it. I'm going forward and I'm throwing stuff. And she was doing that a lot in the third round. Like, Cavalcanti was like stumbling over her own feet, unable to like really have an evasion work, unable to really cut an escape angle. That needs to be that needs to be better because like Nunes is limited by the fact that she's 5'2", like very, very limited by the fact that she's 5'2", and you're unable to take that simple chess and make it safe and neutralize what she can do. Now, again, we're going to talk about judging here because I think this is a terrible card. Judge Ron McCarthy scored this fight 30-27 for Nunes. Like I said, I gave her the third round. She got outlanded in it, but like there were a lot of good charges forward. There were some good blitzes, and I thought that she kind of won the round, even though she got outlanded. And I think a lot of people actually had that. But McCarthy gave her all 3 rounds. What are you doing? That is insane. You gave this woman a round in which she was outlanded 31-18. You gave this woman a round in which she was outlanded 34-20. What are we doing here? What are we doing here, McCarthy? Because the thing is, there was no grappling to talk about. This was a pure kickboxing match, essentially. There were no takedown attempts. There was 8 seconds of control time, apparently. So there was nothing there. Nothing at all. All you're giving that to Nunes is, I guess, the theoretical thing that she hits harder and she was aggressive. I don't know. That's it. But even in the first round, she wasn't all that aggressive. Like, that's the thing. In the first round, Cavalcanti didn't really have a problem staying on the outside. I mean, yes, her retrieve footwork was still, like, very, very sloppy. There was one moment where she, like, almost stumbled into the cage. But Nunes was trying to go, like, all right, we're going to fight at our range, and we're going to chunk, and we're going to kind of match it up. And, like, it wasn't working. So, like, I don't understand. There is a media score for Nunes, which I also don't understand, but okay. Ramaska versus Fletcher got canceled because apparently Fletcher still has a broken leg from the show. Anyways, matchups. Cavalcanti versus Tamiris Vidal fits, but she's on kind of a skid. I want to build Cavalcanti slow. She's 26 years old. She has the physical attributes. She has the base style. She has a lot of the right mindset, I think, where she's invested into a volume meta and doesn't panic when she's hit. So I want to build her slowly into something. And Vidal just gets her a little bit more cagecraft time and a little bit more time to prep. Nunes, I've got Haley Cowan, I suppose. Kong Wang versus Victoria Leonardo ended really, really quickly when Leonardo just got melted. There you go. That's how this goes when you put Victoria Leonardo in there against a big hitter. For Wang, I've got Juliana Miller as an opponent. Miller is not particularly good. She may not even be around anymore, but she's an Ultimate Fighter winner. She will be aggressive. She will try to grapple against Wang, and that's a decent test. Leonardo, the door is open for you to depart because this is the thing. Victoria Leonardo's career, more than perhaps any other fighter on the roster currently, is just a scary one. She came to the UFC with a okay record and a little bit of a kickboxing background and a decent feel. She had beaten Chelsea Hackett on the Contender Series, and that's a good win. That's solid, particularly given, Hackett is more decorated in Leonardo's base skill set. But we kind of knew that there was a ceiling on her. She'd lost to Miranda Maverick once as a pro and once in an exhibition fight. And she got knocked out by Erin Blanchfield. That's not a problem, but okay, both of those fights showed a definitive lack of physicality that was going to come in there. Then she got knocked out by Manon Fiorot. Then she got her arm broken by Melissa Gatto. I think she also got her arm broken against Manon Fiorot, if I recall correctly, as well. And then she beat Mandy Bohm. Okay, all right. Then she got knocked out by Natalia Silva, who is a very, very good fighter, but is not someone who usually nukes people. And now she got nuked by Kong Wang. That's 4 traumatizing stoppages in a 5-fight UFC career. And they're all very brutal. That's the thing. I don't know. She just fundamentally lacks the physical durability, I think, to actually do this. And it's a shame because, I have no doubt of her heart, her determination, her mental toughness. And she even had a little bit of a game that maybe could have worked. But, I'm just not interested in seeing it. I'm just not. The UFC will probably book her again because she seems to be a great way to get people a debut KO victory. but it's just not there. She just doesn't have the physical attributes to be a fighter at this level. So, there you go. Anyways, that is all I got. Check out the links down below for social medias, for the MMA Discord server, the simulator, and also my video gaming stuff if you want to see me be even nerdier than I am here.